I'm so excited because we got some amazing questions come in. I love all the questions we're seeing. And today we're focused on my favorite thing, or one of my favorite things, where we're talking about clarity and vision and mission. And I know that's so important to you too, Carolina. We could talk all day about this. So, Carolina and I actually met, oh my God, how many years ago now?
At
Like
least three.
3 years,
I think
at least three.
yeah.
Yeah. I was getting board certified after having my CHPC certification, and we were in the personal resilience class. And Carolina reached out to me to be a peer coach. I remember when you saw my introduction, you noticed like there were so many like similarities in our stories, and I loved that. And we just hit it off right away. And talking about how we both come from becoming widows at almost the same age, if I remember that right.
I was a little older, but we had like been through it recently. You had been through it recently, and we had that in common. And what I love is that how we got connected, and we had so many similarities. But I'm down here at the bottom of the United States in South Texas, and you're up in.
So I was in New Jersey when we met, which
Yes.
meant we were like up and down here, and now I'm southern in North Carolina, but still in different time zones. But it was, and so even like the dancing aspect of it, we had in common. And I think every time we talk, it's just like so special to
Yes.
me. So I'm
Yes.
glad to be doing this with you today. Um, so tell me about, because we had such great questions. I don't want to miss any of these. And they all tie in so great with what we're talking about today. Um,
Yes.
Especially when we're talking about things like staying positive through when life throws, curveballs at you, given that we both have had these like big curveballs in our
Yeah.
lives. Um, so I want you to talk about that a little bit. Um,
You know, I love that you mentioned that's one of the things that we connected on because I really feel that, especially like here on Instagram or social media, people see someone's life and they think like, oh, well, that's easy for them, or they
mhm,
look so beautiful and look at their life or their vacation or their outfit or fit or whatever it's called,
mhm,
you know, and life looks so perfect, but they don't know what's going
right.
on in the back. And so that question was, how do you stay so positive when life throws so many curveballs at you? And the irony is that that's one of the ways we connected when we
Hmm.
started talking, and you had just recently lost your husband to COVID. And it's like, oh, wow, we had that Me Too moment. And we
Hmm.
had that connection because I think that the world needs to know that they're not the only one that's going through the struggle. You know, when
Hmm.
you connect with somebody else, and yeah, like Christy knows, it's like, oh, I'm not the only one that's going through this tragic hardship at this moment. And
Hmm.
you may look so beautiful and positive online, but what is happening in the background, and how do you continue to stay positive?
Hmm.
And I've been telling everybody, like, I'm so excited because even you just reaching out to me like 3 years later, it was because you said it's like because of your strong faith. And
Hmm.
that's it. That's the thing that I think both of us have in common, that it's like, oh yeah, like what you got, you know, it's like throw it at me, whether it's the devil or just life in general, or choices. When those hard times come, those unexpected things that want to take you out, and it's like, no, I am standing on the rock. I am standing on my faith. And no matter what the world throws at me, my faith is going to carry me through. And that's first and foremost. And I know that's what it's been for me. And I know that's one of the things that connected us. So, you know, do you have something to add to that? Because I know it's more recent for you.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I planned like my whole life, and then and honestly, I've always like had faith, right? So I felt like I had this magic wand. Like I would say I want this, and then I would make everything happen. I would pray about it, I would take action, and then it would like manifest. And then all of a sudden there was like this one thing that I just like prayed so much about and it didn't like come to be, right? Like I don't think I've ever prayed harder for anything in my life. I was like gambling, I was not I was like negotiating with God about like I'll give you back everything I ever got just if you would just give me this, right? And so part of it is the faith of like giving it to God, right? Like
Mhm.
I had this vision for my life, and then it didn't work out the way I thought it would, right? And so when we talk about clarity and vision, it's not just like what do we want, it's also trusting that we're handing it to God and that it's going to work out the best it can because it's in his control,
Yes.
right? And it's like, okay, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I still have the opportunity to build a new vision for my life, in this new reality, and to trust that God's going to provide and that it's going to be even better than I thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah. That's that Romans 8:28, right? That we have to
Okay.
trust that all things are going to work together for the good for
Mm-hmm.
those who love. Yeah. It's like, okay, know better than I know.
Right, right. Yes.
So good.
Um, yeah, I think that was a big way that we were able to connect. Um, uh, so when we look at like the questions we got, um, the other one that stood out to me, it's like, what do you do when you don't feel motivated or you're feeling really unmotivated to do the things, So in this particular question, it's to work out and eat healthy,
Yeah.
right? which which I think is the same really for all things, right? If you think about how do I get motivated to, work on my business or to apply for that job or to, apply to the program or to do the work for the coaching program, the school program, the whatever, the certification, whatever you're working on, how do you get motivated when it gets like unpleasant or hard or and the reason I like that question is because at least for me, and I'll let you talk about this some more, is like it always goes back to vision. Like, what do I really want in my life? And to be centered on that. Like, today, I feel great, right? I feel healthy. I feel like I can do all the things, but it's not about today. It's about 80, when I'm 80, 90 years old, I want to be able to still be dancing, right? I have that vision for my life, right? And I picture that, and I know that if I don't take care of me today, that is not going to happen, years down the road. And the same for anything I do in my career. It's not about today.
Yes.
It's always about the vision for the future.
Yeah.
Um, and when you're a widow, or things are really hard in the moment, and it's like, well, I like looking at it as like I'm building something now, and to feel what it will feel like in the future, in the present, is the motivator for me. So you got to know like what is it for you,
Yeah.
right?
That's good. I think the vision is key. Having a vision because you have to have a goal to shoot for, right? But also with that, like even talking about that, like when you go through a tragedy like widowhood or something like that, what even gets you out of bed in the morning? And that's hard, just to get out of bed in the morning and like I don't want to. I want to pull the covers back over my head. I want to push snooze on the alarm. But what I recognize for me, hi Veronica,
I
like,
try.
um, and what I recognize for me is having that accountability, like a group of people that like you share, at least you share what your goal is. If not, having them come alongside you to help accomplish that goal. So if you
Mhm.
have the goal to eat better or healthier or run, and I know Veronica has this like great group of people. They're doing this really cool thing I love to see on social media right now. And I love to see groups of people all shooting for one goal at the same time, because then like I have to get out of bed because my friends are waiting for me.
Mhm.
And I think that's something like with a coaching client, if they have us and they're saying like, what's your vision? Okay, what's your plan? Okay, I'm going to check in with you in a week and see how that's going. In fact, right now, my daughter-in-law and I are doing a challenge. You've heard of 75 hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're doing 75 hard for Jesus.
Nice.
Reading your Bible, eating healthy, and yes, and so I know I need that. I'm a people person, and I want to take everybody with me. Hey, let's do this together. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what, again, like how you and I connected across the United
Mm-hmm.
States. It's like, okay, we're going to do this class. Okay, what does it look like? Did you finish your homework? What do you want to do? And we were talking, a few weeks ago about what our goals are with our coaching. And when you have somebody that's coming alongside you and it's like, we have goals together and we
Mm-hmm.
have similar dreams, and we know that if we don't get out of bed in the morning, that friend, or they're going to say like, hey, how's that going? In fact, my son called me out last month on something. He's like, hey mom, how's that book going? And I was like, shh.
Yes.
So that, yes, we need a vision, but then we need to share that vision. um, Oh, that's a good question, Christy. How do you stay
Yeah.
on track if you don't have a support group? Ooh,
Yep.
let you, Diane.
Yeah. So, I love what they asked about, like, what drives your passion to coach others. And I know for me, when I lost my husband, it was the middle of the pandemic. It was COVID. So everyone was literally on lockdown. There were no people for me to interact with at all, right? And so I sought out a coach, right? And that gave me that accountability that I needed. And you know what? It's about that community, not just to hold you accountable, but to be your cheerleader and to like sit with you in the really hard moments. There were times I was with my coach just on the phone crying
Oh,
because I needed someone to hold that space to like allow myself to even feel what was happening. Like I was in an empty home about to sell my home, and the overwhelm, and for someone to just sit with me and allow that space was helpful, right? And if you don't have a coach, right, I actually hold myself accountable. It's a not so I actually daily have this like daily routine planner, and it's so simple and so silly because it's like you write in it, right? It's not like a digital thing. Now they have all these habit tracker apps.
no,
But
paper.
I'm a paper person, and it's about like seeing it for yourself. Like a certain number of days go by and you're not checking things off. You're like, I'm not doing what I say I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
do, right? And that's such an integral part of like building your confidence, is doing what you said you're gonna do. Like you yourself are telling yourself whether you can trust yourself, whether this actually means something to you. And the more you reinforce that, the more your confidence builds. And so sometimes it's hard to hold ourselves accountable. So you put systems in place like that. Some people have like real big visual things where they put dots on a wall every time that they do the thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
And like everything is different for people. I will say it's the number one thing I see holding people back from doing the hard things is actually that when they don't do it, they like completely destroy their self-esteem by just like telling themselves how terrible they are. Why can't I get this done? Why am I so lazy? Why am I so this? And just like that shame and guilt that they pour on themselves. And I did that for myself too. Like I went through that, even though I was going through a really hard time in my life. I kept trying to be who I was before the loss
Mm-hmm.
and kept like diminishing myself for not being that same person. And I think people think that if they just keep like telling themselves why they should be doing it, the shoulding is like, I always tell people, stop shoulding yourself, right? Because it's like you are literally setting yourself for failure when you are putting yourself in a state of like shame and guilt. So accountability is one thing. But I always tell people to make sure that you are also cheering yourself on. And that's sometimes you're on autopilot. You don't even realize you're doing it. And that's why I think like a coach or a support group of some kind is so important. Uh,
You know, and I think we forget that even if we don't have those people that are doing it alongside of us, that there are always people watching us.
hmm
You know, so like I said, in
Yes.
this challenge that we're doing right now, one of the things is to read a chapter of the Bible a day, okay? Well, and that's kind of like a habit, you know, I've been doing for decades, so that's not a big deal. There are some on there that are a little harder than others, you know, like the going to the gym part or whatever. But earlier this summer, my grandson told me, it makes me want to cry. He was like, "You read the Bible every single morning." And like, that's something that he noticed. And I
hmm
didn't know that he
hmm
noticed. And so if we stay true to like, I have this habit that I'm going to develop, and we think like nobody is here at 6 in the morning when I'm reading my Bible. Like nobody
Right.
sees, you know, that's a me and God thing, but he sees. Like there are people, there are friends or people on social media or our coworkers, they're seeing that we're doing these things. And so I
hmm
think sometimes we forget that, that
Yes.
whether it's the hard season that we've been through or the easy season, if they say we're being true to that vision and mission that we set, then they're thinking, hey, maybe it's possible for me too. I remember when my son was in high school, I was going through a really hard season in my life at that time. And one of his friends from school went to church with us, and she walked in, and I think she had just had a fight with her dad, and she didn't want to be there. She walked in, and she saw me praising God in the front of the
Sanctuary.
sanctuary. And she came to me and she said, "I wasn't going to come today. And I know what you're going through. And I saw you." Well, I didn't know she saw me, you know, and
hmm
that inspired her. So I think we have to remember that too. Even if we don't have
hmm
that group around us, who is watching us from the peripheral that we don't know that we're inspiring with our consistency?
Yes. Exactly. I love that. I talk about that in my influence session, right? It's the role model way.
Yes.
It's like people are watching whether you realize it or not. Like it's deciding to be the role
Yeah.
model, deciding to be the influence, right? Deciding that you're going to show others what is possible for them.
Yes.
Right. And for me, going through widowhood as a mom, and I'm sure for you too, it's like one thing is what you say to your child is possible for them, and another thing is like what you show them, right? I always said, I want her to know that no matter what, she can do anything that she wants. Like everything is possible for her. But I knew that if my actions didn't align with my words, she was going to copy my actions, not my words. And so to me, it was like, I need to, like, I want to walk the talk, right? Because otherwise, like, there's just not like, that disconnect. I can't say that to her and then not go after my dreams, not show her that resilience, right?
That's so good. Yes, yes, yes. I started a podcast. We talked about that like in the spring. And the one that I think it comes out this week, but it's about mentoring.
Mhm.
And I said that it's like, what does it look like? It's like walking the walk, you know,
Right,
like you can't just say, do this, you know, like take care of your body, you
right.
know, and not get up and go to the gym or eat healthy. And yeah, so yeah, lots of conviction right now. Okay.
Ah!
Back to the vision board.
Yeah. We talked about vision, but so what are some things that you do to like keep your vision, mission like top of mind?
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, I'm a paper person,
Mm-hmm.
and so I like vision boards. In fact, that was one of our questions was, what drives your passion for coaching? And I don't know about you, but I was with a group of women the other day, and that's it. Like getting to create a vision board for me, I have to keep it in front of me. I have to keep my goals like somewhere I can see them almost every day. And I have my vision board when I come out of my bedroom at the wall, at the end of the hall, at the end of the steps. And so I can see it every day. I have to keep it front of mind. It's like I don't think the book is on there. Maybe that's why I don't. I don't.
That's funny.
Yeah. Two vision boards. But then also getting to coach other women, to
Hmm.
pursue their dreams and passions. So that's what drives it, is like when I see another woman have that aha moment, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, you mean I can actually make jewelry for a living? Like I thought that was, a dream. I thought I had to get a degree in business and go to
Right.
business school. And it's like, do you love that? Is that like what drives you? What gets you? It's like, no. And then getting them to dream and put it down on paper. So that excites me, like to actually see somebody else. And so when I do that, and it's like, oh, well, what can I add to my vision board, and what can I, take a little deeper dive into? And
Hmm.
so I think that, because I want to have the conversation with the next person I'm talking to about coaching, it's like, well, like I told you, I just picked up this challenge and I'm doing it
Hmm.
with like a 30 something year old.
Yeah.
What does that look like? But I get motivated by that. I get motivated by cheering other people on. And so the more I cheer somebody else on, the more it makes me want to pursue more goals and go to a higher level. And I've really been challenged this year because a lot of my goals involve technology.
Oh, see?
So yeah, I think it's that. I think it's keeping them before me, but also sharing the dreams and visions with other people and inspire them to pursue theirs. And so we both go higher and farther together.
I some of the things that you said just bring to mind like what it means to have self-limiting beliefs because a lot of clients don't even think that they have them because they believe that that's just the way the world works and that this is a truth. And so even as I hear you talking, it's like these are some of the things that people tell themselves, like I can't do this because I'm not young like this other person is, or I can't do this because I don't have a degree like that person does, or I can't do this because I'm going through this really difficult time in my life. And so it's like understanding that these things that we say to ourselves are just really manufactured from years and years of programming. Like
Yes.
that you heard your parents say this, that you heard your friends tell you that. There are other people's like beliefs imposed on you because when you're born, you have none of these beliefs,
Right.
right?
Right.
You don't have any of these beliefs. And people think that it's being realistic. And so it's like the first step when you're talking about developing your vision and your vision for your life, it's that calling that you feel like, wow, this would be, if I had a magic wand, this would be the life I would have, but I don't have magic and I'm too young or too old and I don't have a degree and I don't have money and so then I'm going to create this very small vision for my life instead, right? Like it's always like, oh, I would love this, but and
Mhm.
that's how it's you have these self-limiting beliefs because they're always followed by the but. Like you start to dream and then you stop yourself. And that's when like that's not like your real vision that's going to inspire you, right? That's not the true essence of like who you are, what makes you like really motivated, what really drives you in life. And a lot of times it's also for me when you talk about like what drives you to be a coach, it's like it's when I think about what's hard about, getting out there and being a coach and, getting on Instagram Live and, writing the book and like trying to give a TED talk, whatever it is, it's the times that I find that I push through the really uncomfortable feelings, it's because the vision is so clearly beyond
Yeah.
myself, right? It's all centered in service. When I can like say, for example, it's like keeping that kingdom mindset of even if this changes one person's life,
Yeah.
in some way they heard the thing that they needed to hear in the exact right moment. That is worth it to me. It's not about me, like, how do I look on camera and what if I have the wrong words and what,
Always.
it's like, huh?
I said always have the wrong words.
It always feels that way, but it's always like if you like instill in yourself that you're gonna say the whatever like is meant to be heard in that moment, like it goes beyond your own like ego, right? Like
Yes.
it's like and I one of the things that I say is like always have that one mantra when it gets hard. And for me, like there is scripture, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God makes all things work together for my good. And sometimes it's like if those things like are unaccessible to me in the moment, it's like I know all things happen for a reason. Like I trust that God is making this work together for my good. Like even if it's a bad thing in the moment, even if I felt like I said the exact wrong thing, right? I trust that it was what needed to be heard and I was exactly where I needed to be for the exact right time because I'm not in control of everything, right? I
Oh, we're all leading
relinquish
that.
control.
We're not
Huh?
in control.
Yes.
I want to go.
Newsflash, I'm not God.
Well, I like how you said like to keep these things in mind. So one of our questions was, what can I start doing today to help me achieve my goals, even when they seem impossible? And I think that's what we're talking about. Like
Hmm.
we're not in. We have definitely lived enough life to know that we're going to get hit by those curveballs. Like you said, you had this perfect life planned out, and it didn't turn out like you thought. But I think aside from the vision board, sitting down and thinking what you want your life to look like 5 years from now. Like you said, you're always looking ahead, doing those things today that will help keep you the woman that you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And so I think what I would do first of all is write that down. Like I help my clients set goals, create action steps. And so I would start out really small because I love wins. I love checking off the box
Hmm.
on those little habit trackers or whatever. So I would pick one thing. Like, what is one thing you can do this week? So if
Right.
you want to eat healthy, what does that look like? And I joke because we think like, oh, I have to like research all these meal plans. I have to do all the things. My one thing that I did when I wanted to eat healthier and I wanted to meal prep is I had to clean out the drawer that had all
Hmm.
my plastic containers,
Hmm.
and like, okay, this week, this is what I'm going to get done is pull out all those plastic containers and make sure they all have lids. And I don't know where all the lids go, but
It's
put
like the
those back.
socks in the dryer.
That's where they are. They ran off together in the sock. Um, and so choose one thing that you can do. So, like, if you want to eat healthy, what is the one thing you have to do to set yourself up for success? And maybe it is researching, healthy recipes, but I always say to research, like anybody can research. We have Google
Hmm.
now, like it's in your hand. That's the easiest first step. But I don't want you to go down a rabbit trail. So I would I would say start out with writing down what are 1 to 3 things that I can do this week. So it might be look for healthy recipes, make a grocery list, and go get that one meal, or clean out, your plastic container drawer, and get groceries and meal prep on Sunday afternoon. Start with a quick win. And then you're going to get so excited. It's like when you lose that first couple of pounds, and it's like, oh, I can do this. And then you get inspired the next week to
Hmm.
do even more. So I think that's one thing. Today, pick that goal that you have been putting on the back shelf
Hmm.
and take it out and write down 1 to 3 things that are actually easy and attainable by the end of the weekend. And I
Hmm.
would even go a little step further and say, hey, let us know, DM us and let us know, like, hey,
Yes.
Diana, Carolina, I Googled healthy recipes, or I joined a gym, or, I bought the tennis shoes,
Yeah.
or whatever. Just let us know. So that's my thing. I was like, I want to cheer you on. I want to go, yes, like I'm in
Yes.
this with you. And I think people are just afraid to start.
Yes. Yes. And, I would say, like, sometimes a lot of us are great at starting, right? Like, you do a bunch of research, you join the gym, and the excitement, like, wears off. Or we get in over research mode where we look a bunch of things up and we just never feel like motivated or ready to finally do the thing.
Yes.
Or like It's like, okay, I joined the gym. Great. That feels good. But now I'll just go tomorrow. I'll just go tomorrow. I'll just go tomorrow keeps happening. And so I would say, like, one of the things is like, just like it takes a certain amount of energy to get started on that first step, it's like to focus really on those very small steps, even in the moment. Like, I have to go to the gym, or also watch your mindset and your language to yourself. Stop telling yourself like, I have to go to the gym, I need to go to the gym, I should go to the gym, I need, should, have to. Like, all those things are meant to like shame you about not doing it, right? Like, all the times you didn't do it, why you're so bad for not getting it done. And it's like, I'm excited to, I get to, I want to, I'm ready to, right? It changes the energy in your body. And when you say that, the first step might just be like, okay, I'm going to put on my gym clothes, right? This week, I'm just going to put on my gym clothes every day. Next week, I'm going to put on my gym clothes and drive to the gym. And if you read like The Power of Habit, it talks about how powerful it is to just like be okay with like these incremental steps. It's like, okay, I'll just walk in and do one thing. I'll just run 1 mile, or I'll, whatever the small thing that is like what you can tolerate at the time is helpful. And it's also about like the mindset piece, right? Like, a lot of it is, what are you focused on? Are you focused on, I'm going to be so sore, it's going to be so hard, it's going to taste so bad, it's going to, all the ways that you keep yourself, it's really just fear. Like, it's fear of the process, fear of the outcome, fear of like what you're going to lose out on, lost pain, as we say. It's like, it's fear of all the ways that this could be painful. And so it's like, all of that is really about, these are all the ways that this could go wrong, right? And so are you focused on that, or are you focused on all the ways it could go right,
Yeah.
right? And when you circle back on faith, like I talk about that a lot too, is like, haven't you seen enough evidence in your life of, or even people around you's life, about how it could just be so, like, something out of nowhere could happen that people call coincidence or serendipity or whatever, that it's like, I couldn't have planned this myself. Like, this is the best it could have ever turned out, right? And so to be able to focus on and ask yourself those questions, like, what if it works out better than I could have imagined? What if
Yeah.
this turns out to be, a place where I make the best friend I've ever had? Like, what if I, create the life that I dreamed of? What if it's like, you're asking yourself disempowering questions is part of the problem. And it's not just like the mindset, it's also like, simplify it for yourself. It's like, how do you make it easier for yourself? How do you make it fun? How do you make the food delicious? How? The more how questions you ask yourself that are more empowering, the more you're going to be motivated to make a change. I know for me, like I say, it's easier to take the mind work out of it and just create rules for yourself. Like, okay, I only treat myself on the weekends. Like, right? I just have that. I don't buy snacks. I don't keep them in the house, right? Like, I I eat at least a cup of veggies and fruit a day, no matter what kinds it is. Like, I try to do that every day. I have X amount of water per day. And when I don't make the cut, it's not about, why do you keep messing this up? It's about, okay, tomorrow we'll do better. Focusing on what did happen as opposed to what didn't happen.
Yeah.
That will shift your energy. Like, it's what motivates us is really how we feel. Like, how do we feel about the thing that we're doing? And if it's always like, I feel bad about myself, then your actions are not gonna match.
Yeah. See,
We have
that's awesome.
somebody in here. Yeah. So Veronica says, not sure if it's good or bad, but in this fitness community, we say things like progress over perfection,
So,
or suffering with friends, or fitness freedom. Works for me. Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Like, these are mantras, right? These are the ways we watch what we say to ourselves. Do you have one like that,
Yeah.
Carolina?
No, but you know what I was just thinking when she said that, it's like going back to what is one thing I can do
Hmm.
today. I think recognizing those mindset and those lies that we tell ourselves and
Hmm.
what rewrote 3 to 5 things that like I get to work out
Hmm.
because mine I'm not it's like I'm thinking of myself today because mine is mornings, and I'm constantly saying I hate mornings or I'm not a morning person, and
Mm.
instead of saying like, oh, I get to wake up and I get to take care of my body, or like that one, it's like I don't have to be perfect. Progress over perfection, because every time I
Yeah,
get up and go do it, I feel so good.
right.
It's just that the in between. It's getting from here to actually doing it. And so I love that. It's like, no, I don't have to look cute to go to the
Hmm.
gym. I don't have to have the best outfit. In fact, when you were talking about the power of habit, I know they say like to have your gym clothes out ready, your tennis shoes out. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, we need to back up a little bit. That's some of us just have to find our gym clothes.
Where are they?
Yeah. So
Some of us have to go get it at the store even.
go shopping and step number one. Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
like
kidding.
I have to go find them, buy them. But yes, and also, so like Veronica said, maybe even asking other people. It's like, man, you get up with your friends every morning,
Yeah.
and you all go like, what? How do you all encourage yourself? What are some of the things that you all say? Those people that are succeeding, and I talk about that a lot. I mean, I know that there are so many huge business moguls or successful people that we look up at, again thinking like, oh, it must be nice or it's easy for them,
Mm.
and it's not, because what they did is they're the ones that went to the Michael Hyatts and the Amy Porterfields and like, hey, can we have coffee? Can I ask
Hmm.
you what you did to get here? So
Hmm.
why don't we do that with the small things?
Hmm.
Why don't we do that with the fitness goals? Why don't we do that with like, I think these questions were so huge. Why don't we do that with like, hey, I see you, and it makes me want to cry. And just like, even on social media, DM somebody and it's like, how are you staying so positive through this trial you're going through?
Yeah.
Like why aren't we reaching out to the people that we admire and think, I wish I could be like that? Like, even
Hmm.
where did you find this group of people that are inspiring you to get up 6 o'clock in the morning and go work out, on the bayfront or in the park? It's like, where did you find this group? And if we
Hmm.
do that, if we take that step, maybe they're going to say, like, hey, come join us. Like, I just did what you just did. I reached out to them. I took that first step of saying, like, how did you get where you are? Because I want to be there too, and I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the hardest thing, is reaching out. In fact, you said something earlier about like, what if you succeed, or what if you find your closest friends? Because one of my closest friends was on here, and we recently spoke at a conference, and it was so funny because we were talking about how that serendipity that you talk about, we kept crossing paths, you know? And it was so funny because I am not like that bold, assertive person. And when we both found out that we were both going for our life coaching certification, and this was over a decade ago, okay? And it was a vision board. It was on her vision board. I
Hmm.
literally said this, like, I literally chased her out into the parking lot and said,
Oh.
hey, like, me too. I'm doing this too. And I could have made a fool out of myself, and it could have been so stupid, like, to like, hey, did you say you were doing this? Me too. Like, chasing her out the door into the parking lot. But now we're the best of friends.
Yeah.
And when we said that, I was like, yes, I could have looked so foolish. I mean, she could have looked at me like a crazy person, and she may have.
Yeah.
but but it was just taking that one bold step. It's like, hey, how are you doing this? Or you're going where I want to go. Can we do this together? Or how do I get to do that? And why are we so timid or afraid to take that bold step, ask the question?
Well, so I have this rule about no why questions. Because why implies like some judgment in that, right? Like why? And it's really about what is it about that makes us so timid? Like what is it about that interaction? And I think loves to sing KH said it right. It's the being afraid of getting the no.
Yes.
And that fear, it's like I always try to go back to who's running my life.
Mm,
Is it fear or is it me? Like, is it my fear of rejection? Is it my fear of, abandonment? Is it my fear of failure? Is it my fear of success? Like, who's running my life,
yeah.
right?
Or fear or faith, you know?
Right. Is it my fear or is it my faith? And what is greater? What am I going to feed, right? And
And,
it's like I choose over and over to feed the faith. And part of that is like having the courage, especially in like what you described when you talk about like I had this moment where I was like I should chase her down the parking lot. There's so much that goes inspiration that goes on in our daily lives where we're like, oh, and it's not the shaming should. It's like the idea, right? Like I should chase her down. It's that like moment of inspiration that you have. And I always say, like Mel Robbins always says, 5 4 3 2 1, the 5 second rule, because when you get that moment of inspiration to take action like that, if
mhm.
you don't do something with it within 5 seconds, you will talk yourself out of it. And I found that to be so true. And it's like, you, the more you like prove to yourself that you're capable of stepping into courage in those moments by doing that, the more confident you get and the more you teach yourself, like rewire your brain to say, okay, this is important to us. We can do hard things. Like not every like it didn't kill us, right? Because that's part of it. It feels like a life or death thing, like to our nervous system. It feels like if I get rejected, it'll feel so like hard that I won't be able to handle it. That's like kind of the underlying belief. And it's about like believing that you can handle it, and part of that is by walking through these difficult things and proving to yourself that you can. And I got to tell you, a big part of that has been to understand my nervous system and to be able to like regulate my nervous system. When you
Mm.
like when you've been through a big life traumatic event, what you don't realize is like your nervous system gets wired to believe like really bad things are going to happen.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and then you're in survival mode, and that is like the killer of dreams, the killer of like motivation, the killer of inspiration, creativity, all those things is to be in survival mode, right?
Wow. That could be a
A
whole life on its
whole
own.
other.
I'm gonna, maybe we should finish with this question. I didn't even think we'd get 30 minutes, but we're doing great. What can I start doing today to help me achieve my goals, even when they seem impossible? And so I want to go back to that we're afraid of getting a no. I think that we have to, like, again, with the limiting beliefs, we have to recognize that we're going to risk failure. You know, like that person could have turned to me and said, yeah, bye.
Yeah.
And we have to recognize. I think it's like a sales technique, right?
Hmm.
That brings you closer to the yes.
Hmm.
But we have to anticipate. Yes, we're going to fall on our face. In fact,
Yeah.
I may have shared this with you, but it was so funny. When I started doing my podcast, and like I said, technology is a whole thing with me. I was videotaping myself, and I chopped off my head. You know, it's like, so I mean, we're going to make mistakes.
Hmm.
It's not going to always look like we want it to look, but we
Hmm.
have to risk failure because one of the things is that when we were talking earlier about that, you talked about like, you know, what if you find your best friend? There is this poem, I wish I had it now. I wrote about it one time on my blog, but about um, what if I fall? And it says, "Oh my dear,
What if
but what if you
you
fly?"
fly?
Yes,
I love that
and
quote.
that that brought tears to my eyes, and it's like, um, what can you start doing today to help you achieve your goals? Like, what is your goal? What do you want to what do you want to do that seems impossible? Like, what is that losing internet. Oh, okay. I think you just buffered or something. Um, Focus on becoming that person or focus on achieving that goal, down the road, because I think I never like some days I wake up, especially this year, some days I wake up and it's like, who am I and how did I get here? But it was because I risked starting. I risked writing down the dream. I risked writing down, 2 or 3 things that I could take action on today. I risked showing up every week to accomplish that. And not, it was never about me.
Right.
It was always about, and I say this like, I want to be the person that I didn't have
Right.
when I was a teenager or in my 20s. I want to be that person. I want to be that person that all of these other young women can look at. And that's why I love this, because we need to do this sometimes, like the intergenerational. It's like somebody in their 30s or somebody, in their 40s, somebody in their, we'll do it again. But to show people that, oh, they're doing it, and if they're doing it, I can do it.
Right.
And so I think the most important thing you can start doing today is write it down and set action steps, and then jump.
Right.
Just jump into it. Take that leap of faith, and get rid of those limiting beliefs if you have them. Write them down. And I think a lot of people get stuck because they don't even realize that they have limiting beliefs.
Right. That's why I like the exercise where, hey, do you have, when you start to think of something that you want, do you follow that up with some kind of but statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your limiting belief, by the way. And
Say it out loud.
what was it?
I said, say it out loud.
Yes.
It always sounds stupid when you say it out loud. In your mind, it sounds reasonable.
Right.
But if you say it out loud, it sounds stupid.
Right. Right.
Oh, that's
It's
so
like,
foolish. What did I think? Why did I think I could do that?
I'll tell you an example. I had a client that said they hadn't applied to jobs yet because they didn't have their LinkedIn password. I was like, okay, can you go on LinkedIn right now and hit the reset password button for me? Right? And it's like, but the thing is, like, we all do things like that. All of us, like, we all like lie to ourselves. We tell ourselves things that sound really realistic about why we can't do the thing that we want to do. And it's like not like you're not any different from anybody else if you're doing this. And one thing that I really had a hard time with, and this is why coaching is so important to me, because I saw what a difference it made for me, is that I would go into these like endless research modes. Like, I need to know more. I'm not ready. I'm not sure. What if I mess it up? Like, the only way to learn it and be ready is to just do it.
Yeah.
Like, you will never be ready. You will never feel ready, right? And so the whole, progress over perfection is great. I always go by that. But another one is just like, done is better than perfect. Because guess what? You get it done today, that's still better than it perfect 6 months from now or a year from now when you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Just like the real thing that I had to come to terms with is you will learn more by doing it and failing doing it than by waiting another 6 months to a year to realize, to think that I'm finally ready to do it. You will fail and you will learn more from that failure than you will by attending another webinar, reading another book, getting another certification. Like, do the thing. Do the thing. And when you do it, it's gonna feel like crawling out of your skin. But it's like, I just keep repeating, done is better than perfect because it is done now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the done part is the progress.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it a little bit better next time because I learned something from it. I that growth mindset of, okay, I failed or I didn't do it as great as I wanted, but now I know what I want to do better or different next time. And that's okay. Like, being okay with not being perfect. Like, you're a human being. Right? Like nobody, even if their video seems perfect, I will guess that, you know, I love what you said about when you reach out to people that are like, having faith through really difficult times, right? What's so powerful about that is that you will get insight to their struggle to do that, to be able to have faith through those times. Because even like small things like speaking, right? Speaking was always like a really tough thing for me in my corporate job, now as a coach. There was a time where I spoke at a news station that wanted to cover Juan's story. And they wanted me to do it live and they wanted me to do it Univision. It's like a big news station. And they wanted me to do it in Spanish and I like my Spanish is fluent, I suppose, but it's not easy for me. I got to this country when I was 5 years old. So I don't have any Spanish schooling at all, right? And so it's still hard for me. Yes, I'm fluent, but it was a highly emotional talk. It was live, so I felt like the pressure was on. And I think this story is so important to me because it goes back to what is my vision? Why is this so
Yes.
important to me? Why is it worth being uncomfortable through this? Right? Like, why am I risking being like ugly crying on national, world television? And for me, it was about making sure my daughter saw her dad's story being told, making sure my daughter knew her dad was important, making sure that like his story didn't get lost, that his family felt like there was something out there that said it matters that this happened, right? And so, yeah, I was so uncomfortable. I was like so anxious. And after the thing was finally over, I felt like I was having a massive anxiety attack, right? Like my heart is pumping out of my chest. I'm crying. I'm doing other things. And guess what? The messages I got after were, "You did so great. You look so confident and comfortable," and all the things. And that's what you don't see is what happened before or right after that person on that you see that looks put together, that looks confident. They're feeling just like you would feel, like you aren't that different. And when I
Right.
realized that, I was like, okay, all these people that are doing these things, I don't really know, right? It's about the lies we tell ourselves. It's like, how do you know that? You don't know that. And you could choose to believe, the limiting belief, like, well, they have more training, they know more, they're good at this, I'm bad at this. Or you could choose to believe, the opposite. Either way, you don't have any evidence, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about what do you want to choose? Like, are you making the choice that like feeds your dreams, or are you making the choice that's going to prevent you from going after your dreams?
Yeah. That is perfect. And I love that you said that. It's like, no, we're not, people may look confident or they may look like they have it all together, but you didn't see the before. And that goes with the goals. So let's end it because I can't believe it's been almost an
Oh my gosh.
hour with this, because you said, the done is better
Perfect.
than perfect. That is better than perfect. And so somebody asked, what are some things you can add to your daily routine to optimize time and resources? I think we're shooting for the done. We want to get that check mark. We want to have that goal accomplished. I would say, like you showed earlier, the habit tracker, like you have to add that. You have to add like some kind of planner, whether it's digital or I like the paper planner. I've used it for decades. A friend told me one time that she goes, you have all these goals and dreams. She goes, but you're so scatterbrained. Like, how are you going to accomplish them? So let me introduce you to this planner system.
Yeah.
And it changed my life. And people think like, how did you accomplish all these things? Well, if I didn't have it right, if I didn't have it written down, if I didn't have the to-do list. So I think the first thing you could add to your daily routine is having some kind of planning system where you write your goals, you write the action steps so that you can check it off and say it's done.
Yeah.
And
I,
accomplished it.
yes, I was just at like it's about being intentional, right? Like I said I want to accomplish this, and then these are the things that I'm going to do every day for the next week, month, year, etc., to get me closer to that. And yes,
Yeah.
it's about writing it down, not just the thing that you're currently working on, but the thing that you want to work on in the future, because the more you repeat it to yourself, the more real it feels like, yeah, we're doing this,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes. And then stay consistent.
yes,
Yes.
exactly.
All right.
Consistency is also better than perfection.
Yeah, I went to the gym. I wasn't that fast or that strong, but I went to the gym. I showed up. I did the thing, and
Yes,
in a now I'm gonna feel stronger and
yes.
healthier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Diana. This has been so
Thank you so
fun.
much. I love this. And we have so many more questions we still have for next week. And we're going to be doing this every Friday for the month of September.
Yeah, send us
So please join
questions.
us again. Yes, send us your questions. And please log in. And we're going to have this recorded too. So we're going to start putting out different recordings of the different topics we talked about. I'm so excited to be doing this with you, Carolina. This is so fun.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Yay.
Bye, everybody. Have a great morning.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.